Lily! And welcome everyone who already showed up to this conversation about co-parenting. And I'm so excited to be doing this conversation with Malika. Hi to Masi, who said boas.
Boas, boas, boas.
Um, yeah, where to start? Let's do a little introduction first. Let's do that because not everyone who watches it will know the two of us. Before we dive in, let's do a short introduction.
Yes. Amen.
You go first.
Oh, I go first. Okay.
Yes.
So, thank you, everybody joining, and thank you for you, Lisenne. Obrigada por toda gente que está ali. Obrigada toda gente who is entering this conversation. The intention for this conversation is to be around and centering the topic of co-parenting. So Zen invited me for this conversation because a while back ago, we were speaking as dear soul sisters that we are, and she was going through her own situation and she was asking me for advice. And what turned out to be a beautiful conversation that I believe inspired her. Um, she felt the call to share it with other mothers and other people that might relate so it can be helpful. And I agreed. So, yeah, here we are today in hopes that it blesses everybody. And yeah, join us, bless us with your presence, bless us with your questions, your energy. We can start by taking a deep breath just to center. I think that can be helpful even as we're going through, navigating rough times. So, yeah, if you feel the need, you can put one hand on your heart, the other one on your belly, and just breathe in and breathe out. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that one in. I sometimes feel like it's kind of cliche to be doing it, but it's totally works.
A breath always works.
A breath always works. Yeah. Thank you for the
Yes.
introduction to this conversation. I actually asked you, but I didn't ask you specifically, so that's why you did an introduction to the conversation. But I really would like you to introduce yourself. Who are you, Malika? That's a big question to ask, I know, but just give us a an impression of who you are so that we can also understand why I'm having this conversation with you and why it might serve the people that have been following you online and that are now watching from who you are.
Yes, I usually say that that question is so much deeper, and I'll always respond in the now, right? So right now I am Malika. Much more beyond the name. I feel that I'm a soul that's called here to live experiences and navigate them and share them with others. Um, I identify as somebody that loves helping others, um, and I love receiving love, and I love being in activities and learning experiences and just navigating the world in the best way I can. I started this work online a few years ago when I started coaching women, right? Coaching women, helping them retake the power of their health. And as I've been through problems with my health and, my mental health, especially, this was, I would say, about 10 years ago or more, where in social life, we didn't usually speak about mental health. It wasn't a conversation, right? Even in our families, it wasn't something present. And I'm someone who suffered from, a lot of anxiety, a lot of panic attacks, a lot of deep depressional moments. And in that time, I didn't necessarily find therapists or people that I identified with. And in hopes of, going through my process and surviving, which I did, I think I survived. Um, I went through therapy and I
I think
saw
you
that.
went beyond surviving, right? Just to interrupt, but I think you went beyond just surviving, right?
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I can accept that. It's fair to say I'm thriving off of the experiences that I had, which were very intense, but 15 years ago we wouldn't speak about mental health. And
Hmm.
when I went through therapy, the person which I worked with, she was a great professional, but she didn't have necessarily the language to understand my personal cultural experiences, right?
Hmm.
We would go through therapy, but there was a lack in terms of deep connection. So after going through that, I went through my own process. I'm trained as a pharmacist. So then I specialized in holistic pharmacy and I work in wellness and well being with women.
Hmm.
So after going through that process, my first question was, where do I go for therapy with people that look like me?
Hmm. Hmm.
Women that speak my language, or even if they don't speak it, they can feel it, right? So that was my process as a start. It started like that. And then now to this moment, I feel that I've been having the call to share these experiences more and more publicly, sharing my truth, connecting with other women and men as well. And I guide people through these experiences where I'm there to be a support system, right? A part of their support system. So I do feel there's a need to, say that in this moment, that's who I am, but also tomorrow it can change.
Well, thank you for this beautiful introduction of yourself. And I could tell that someone in the comments also said that you're just a beautiful soul, which I can fully, how do you say it? Confirm. And
Sometimes.
hi, Maria, Futuro Claro. And I see other people reacting as well. Walter.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for joining us in this conversation. And I think you mentioned some very important things that are relevant for this conversation too. The fact that mental health is something that we should be talking about, and it encompasses so much, so many areas of our lives, or I could say just our entire lives. And it has a lot to do with language, imaging, but also, like you said, the feeling, or I would say even, yeah, being able to observe, yeah. So thank you for that introduction of yourself. Let me introduce myself too. My name is Lisenne Delgado. I'm actually Malika's cousin too. So I have the honor of having her present in my life for a very long time.
Likewise.
Um, yeah, from a distant. Um, most of the time, distance
Mhm.
most of the time, but more of a physical distance and not so much presental distance. So I'm schooled as a lawyer and then went on to do research on human rights and racism, which to me has a lot to do with normativity. So, how are norms formed? What do we do with norms? Where do they limit us? Where do they liberate us, etc., etc.? And then also race, to me, also has to do a lot with identity and narration, etc. Then I became a mom. I'm now a mom of two boys. Well, two born boys at least. I don't want to exclude non-born children. Um, and the oldest is 4 now, the youngest is 2. And becoming a mom is a life-changing process.
Mm.
And I'm consciously saying becoming a mom because I feel I'm still becoming a mom, and I feel like it's a constant process, but we'll talk about it later, I think.
Mhm.
Um, because as we're navigating motherhood, our children are also growing and changing, etc. So our motherhood too changes.
For sure.
Like life is change, of course. Um, but in that process, I noticed too that the way we have designed motherhood now in society and the expectations that we have of mothers and we as mothers ourselves too are, I could say, dysfunctional. And that it leads to a lot of mothers just entering a sort of rat race of expectations and things that they have to do and all these roles they have to play that disconnects them from themselves. And I went through that process too. And I noticed and learned and feel deeply how important it is to be connected to yourself from who you are in the core and from there be able to navigate this world and not only navigating it, but also to building structures that support you. And structures that could be in a big way, but also the smallest way, like how do I start my day? Or how do I start this conversation? Because before we actually press to go live, we set an intention for this conversation. And it is these small things that when you build them consciously, they are going to support you. So thank you. So that was about me. And I think it was important to set this kind of foundation so that everyone knows where we come from.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the subject of today, which is co-parenting. Yeah. You already set the context a little bit, but let me just add um, the father of my children and I are separated right now. We still live physically in the same house,
Okay.
but we're both looking for our own place to stay, of course. Um, but so now I'm entering in this entire new phase where I'm not in a relationship with my ex-partner, who is also the father of my children. And we're about to transition into a situation where we'll be living in two different houses and where time spent with our children will be separated, and where I also will not have a, let's say, present role in a part of their lives when they're with their father. And I noticed that, well, I noticed two things. One is I find it pretty scary because it's a huge change. And also, my children are pretty young, 4 and 2.
4 and 2. Yeah.
And, you know, I really believe that we're formed for a big part also by our external lives. So I feel it is important to be aware of what we give our children, what norms, what way of living, what we teach them about navigating the world, values, etc. Um, in this when with this age of 4 and 2, but also when they're older, they'll need it differently.
Yes.
Um, and I guess we're going to talk about that. But there's a part of control too, where I just need to let go of control because I won't be able to uh, know and have a say about what their lives will look like when I'm not there.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds pretty big. It is. So that's the first part.
Yeah.
And then the second part is that I'm someone who likes to be prepared
Mm-hmm.
and informed. And, knowing that, of course, I don't know what the future holds, but I do want to be prepared for as far as I can. So
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about where and how I could prepare myself for this transitioning
Mm-hmm.
into co-parenting. And I wanted to learn from someone who went through it and who is going through it. And of course, I thought of you
Yeah.
because you've been co-parenting for 16 years already, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah, and I, like, I admire you as a person. I really respect how you go about things, how you're willing to learn. Um, and I see that Liliana said, eu pensei que era sexta-feira, essa live. Eh, É sexta-feira,
É
né?
sexta-feira.
Hoje é
Hoje
sexta-feira.
é sexta, irmã.
So
Um,
I was just reacting to someone in the comments.
yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, of course I turned to you and
Yeah.
we had a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful conversation.
Mm.
And I felt like this was something that I wanted to share with the world because I feel like there are a lot of co-parenting moms who could learn from the
And dads.
conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely two. Yeah.
Yeah.
I said moms because the two of us are moms, so we're going to speak from the perspective
Of
of a
course.
mother,
Yeah.
but definitely also dads. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Can we just like so good and so powerful what you shared, Zen? I don't want to forget this because I think it really takes a lot of courage to be able to share your truth, what you're
Thank you.
going through.
Hmm.
And I want to honor that with the most respect because when you're wanting to, like you said, I'm a co-parent as well, and I've been doing that you're the one that made me count how many years. Like, nunca tinha noção. Nunca
Uh-huh.
tinha noção. So I've been doing that for the past 16 years. So my child is going to be 18. So we can say almost 20 years, so it's a lot of time. Um, and going through that, when you're going through a lived experience, it's not always easy to let go, right? So I just want to say that it takes a lot of courage to be able to share your present experience. And I
Thank
commend
you.
you for that. That's very honorable. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually feel like that's where we can learn from each other and
Mm-hmm.
grow.
Exactly.
Yeah, when
Exactly.
we can have these authentic conversations
For sure.
and where we are able to open up about our truths.
For sure.
Um, I must say it's still sometimes feels pretty vulnerable, of
Mm-hmm.
course.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's necessary at the same time. So yeah.
Okay. So you've come just to give context before we start this topic in detail, just to give context, you've decided to separate from the father of your child romantically.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is decided. And now, like you said, you're navigating, finding different spaces, and then you're going to be having your two kids shared between those two spaces. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it is freaking scary. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No querer dar contexto. So we can speak in Creole as well, right? No querer dar contexto because this is not the same scenario for everybody. Okay, these are our personal experiences. So I want to say first, co-parenting is being able to navigate with the other parent, right, of your child or your children in a way that the focus is to grow the child without necessarily having a romantic relationship with the parent, right?
Exactly.
And it seems so simple and so cute, but it's not easy. Hmm.
I love how you said cute.
It's so cute.
Yeah.
Co-parenting, like we find these beautiful labels and terms and names,
Mm-hmm.
but we also want to reconnect with the meaning of it because it is a very profound experience. I would even say it's a spiritual experience. It's
Mm-hmm.
been spiritual for me,
In what
um,
sense?
in a sense that I've had to burn myself through discomfort to
Mm-hmm.
find my true self as a parent,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That sounds beautiful. Now let us understand what you're meaning.
What I'm meaning is my personal experience with and I can give you context with my story so then we can see where we can
Please,
be helpful to each other, right?
please do.
So
Yeah.
Cairo, my boy, he's going to be 18, and me and the father of Cairo, we separated. He was like around 2. So he was a baby, right? My personal experience was the relationship had ended. We didn't have necessarily um, condição, nunca tinha condições de já estar junto, right? Nunca tinha condições de estar junto como casal, but also this child was made with so much love, right? This is the father of my child. He was my high school sweetheart. We had been together for a long time. And now I see
I actually
myself.
got goosebumps the way you said it. Yeah,
Yes,
that he was made with
yes.
so much love.
He was made with so much love, and I got goosebumps too.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, when we separated as a couple, it was really, really hard because we were still in the same geographical space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So navigating that to me was
Which
hard.
you mean an apartment or the country or the city or what is it? What is the
Okay,
geographical
so
space?
so first so
Uh-huh.
first we separated physically in the space in the house.
Yeah.
And then my child, so I had my child while I was in college. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm very conscious that this might be different realities for people. So I had him when I was in college, and the reality is when you have a kid, you have to work, you have to study, and you have to be a parent. That is like extra layers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So things got bottled up, and
Mm-hmm.
when we didn't have any more physical capability of being together, we separated, being in the same space, and then after that, um, we couldn't be parenting in the same space. After that, Kairu, a while after, he went to live with our parents in Cape Verde,
Mm-hmm.
so we could finish college.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we were introduced to co-parenting, there was no name. Nunca tava de chamar separação co-parenting. Like,
Yeah.
Cape Verdean people, it's like Dana, as if you're broken, right? You separate, you divorce, all these terms. So we weren't legally married. And when we separated, it was very heartbreaking because I thought my world ended, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I was very deeply attached to this person, which is the father of my child.
Mm-hmm.
So when we separated, it took me many years. I want to be very clear. It took me very much time, a lot of time to understand that I had to separate Malika as being, as relating to him as the ex partner.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to change my mindset and see him as the father of my child.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind,
Right.
I was interacting with him with a lot of resentment, with a lot of anger, with
Mm-hmm.
a lot of jealousy,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of revolta about the way things ended, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after that, we came to terms. We didn't come to terms. It was forced upon us that we didn't come to terms. It was forced upon us that in order for this child to be healthy and to be raised well, we would have to, be adults.
Mm-hmm.
So this came from our parents, both
All
of our
right.
parents, so shared this infrastructure, shared this conversation with us because we were immature, we were young, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't even prepared. I want to also bring that in context. Like as a society, culturally, we're not necessarily prepared to be in relationships.
Yep.
So you
True
you get
there.
into these
Truth
relationships,
bomb.
yes, you get into these relationships not knowing yourself, not knowing the other person, and
Yep.
then boom, you have a baby. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
my kid was not planned by me. I know he was planned by a higher power, but in
Mm-hmm.
my mind, I was going to
Mm-hmm.
travel abroad. I was going to do volunteering. I was going to do all these stuff that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So then came Kyle. And when we separated, it was really hard to accept, okay, now I'm going to raise this child on my own. That's the part that was scary. Uh,
What about it was scary? And let me give some context to that as well.
mhm.
Please do not forget your answer.
Yes, yes,
But the
yes.
context in which I'm asking this is because I feel like for me, I'm still in the process also of accepting that I'm going to be a single mom, a
Mm-hmm.
co-parenting single mom,
Mm-hmm.
because of all the negative images that exist around the idea of single moms or parents that are separated and have children.
Yes.
And it somehow still feels like I'm failing my children
Mm-hmm.
by not being with their father anymore. I
Exactly.
see this life can be a book. Maybe we'll turn it in a book once,
No,
one
that's
day.
so sweet.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, bro. It's
Um,
true. It's true.
yeah, so that's
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I asked the question. Also,
That point.
really being curious about what was scary about it for you.
Mm-hmm. I think the scary part was like you said, we see this reality, especially in Cape Verdean culture, like a single mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I learned a couple years ago that the term is not necessarily a single mother
Mm-hmm.
because single has to do with your marital status, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
separate from the man as your romantic partner, but you never separate from your kids. So
Mm-hmm.
single and mother don't match. Que le
Mm-hmm.
morda azeite e água, right? So I see it as a solo mother, right? Being a
Solo
solo
mother.
mother, I think
Yeah,
the term is
that's
more
beautiful.
appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also, even solo, I question because you're never alone,
Mm-hmm.
right?
True.
And
Mm-hmm.
also, these expectations that society set upon us are very frustrating because the thought that you have, and I went through this, the shame of
Mm-hmm.
being a divorced or a separated mother of the child, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Gosse bo é uma mulher que cria filho ele só.
Yeah.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
that's something, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I learned, thank God, through your mother, let me tell that your mother was one of the first references that I had in our
Mm-hmm.
family of a woman that had went through divorce because it wasn't heard of, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And respecting all that she went through, of course, and all that she was able to surpass, we don't speak about divorce.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was younger, I remember in the early 2000s that happened in the family, that was a taboo. Like,
Mm-hmm.
right? They got divorced. Oh my gosh, what is she gonna do with her life? So all these programming that were taught since young,
Mm-hmm.
when
Mm-hmm.
I was going through that phase, I saw it as a very shameful experience, but then something clicked because the more and more I spoke to elders, people around me, and I got support,
Mm-hmm.
I started to see that it was a shame for me to
Mm-hmm.
stay in a situation where I was unhappy
Mm-hmm.
because I was happy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
had to accept that. So I had to let go of this shame and accept that the way that I could make things right
Mm-hmm.
would be so much stronger than the shame of not being attached to the father of my child. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It definitely makes sense. And I would even maybe say that it would have been a shame if
Mm-hmm.
you would have stayed. But now that you did not stay, there's no shame.
But also, we have to be honest because then,
Yeah.
couples go back and forth, right?
Yeah, but then there's a situ I see that then as a different situation.
Yeah, yeah.
Because yeah.
Yeah, yeah, people feel Boa Maria, people feel sorry for you. It's
Yeah.
true. It's the
So,
shinty pena. It's the shinty pena.
yeah, so
And it's
some
like,
Maria in the comments said, and when you're a solo mom, it's like people feel sorry for you. Mm-hmm.
and it's very true. And I went through that because even in your own family, I feel the first judgment comes from our family,
Mm-hmm.
comes from people, wanting the best of intentions, but the way they
Mm-hmm.
say it isn't necessarily helpful.
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yeah.
so okay, getting to the point where I had to let go of control, not because I wanted to, but I was forced to. So then came a separation geographically because the father of my child moved to another country.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I might add, made it so much easier for our process
All right.
because we had the distance factor.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're constantly dealing with the father of your children
Mm-hmm.
physically,
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to be, able to manage your emotions when there's all these triggers in place in the same space.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my personal experience. What I feel is something you touched upon that is very important is that all these expectations we have as becoming a mother,
Mm-hmm.
I even bring it back to this is the way our society is so sick that we're trained to become a father, become a mother, and we don't actually live in the present moment, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my present focus is I want to be a mother right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to attach to what my mother has been, to what my grandparents has been. I want to be a mother to my child, and I want to do so in the best way that I can.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to recognize that while we're going through this and while I went through this, I had to see that what each one of us was doing, the mother and the dad, is our best. No estava
Mm-hmm.
no jamjur. With what
Mm-hmm.
we had, with what we had been through, also recognizing that that person has their own personality, their own education, they deal with their own inner child trauma. I deal with mine. And
Mm-hmm.
each of us carries our parents' inner child inside of us.
Yeah, okay. Well, there, please let me interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
So, two
Please.
things. So, first was that you said that the moment he moved to another country, that made it easier.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to ask two questions, which is not the best way to ask people things, but please bear with me. So,
Mm-hmm.
one is the physical separation now with an ocean between you, the two of
Yes.
you, made it
Yes.
easier. And then my mind goes directly like, oh my God, but when your child is going to his father, then he's really
He's really going.
far. Right,
Yes.
exactly. He's
Yes.
really far away.
Yes.
There's nothing
Yes.
you can do. Well, of course,
Mm-hmm.
there's always something you can do, but there's nothing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So that in my mind is like, oh, how is that
Mm-hmm.
easier? Although I
Mm-hmm.
can also understand the part that when you're closer to each other, there's those triggers. But could you please also go into that part of when he's really, gone for a
Gone.
while?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's one. And um, I forgot the other one. So that will be later on.
Yeah,
Oh
the
yeah, no.
first,
Okay,
it's
so
coming.
I'm sorry. So Maria said that's growth. So the part where you say, okay, I, I accepted that both of us have our own personalities, our own inner child's
Mm-hmm.
wounds, our own mother wounds, father wounds, whatever wounds we all have,
Mm-hmm.
and that you have to respect that. Okay, I can understand that until a certain point, but when there's also a child, and when you
Mm-hmm.
can see that the child also is affected
Mm-hmm.
by the personality of the other parent, of course, also by yourself, but you can see it easier by
Yeah.
the other parent in positive ways and in negative ways, how to deal with that. Because
Oh.
yes, that is growth, but
Mm-hmm.
how do I get to that growth?
Mm-hmm.
Growth, because, well, that I can foresee will be a challenge.
Yes. Yes. I
Thank you,
think
Sini. She says, I'm so proud of you both.
so are we. So responding your first question, the part
Yeah.
about ocean, right? Being
Yeah.
distantly, physically distant. So where I see it easier is now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
16
Yep.
years later. 16 years later, I can see it was easier for me having physical distance from the father, but also navigating. My child would literally get onto 8-hour flights to go be with his dad. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give some context because I think it's very important to me to say that his father is a present father. His
Mm-hmm.
father is a very active and supportive father in
Mm-hmm.
Kaido's life. I admire him as a father. So I
Mm-hmm.
just want to be clear about that. Not so much so romantically, but I also have love for him. I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
lie.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of love for the father of my child, and he knows that.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I see that sometimes people can also separate when there's an excess amount of love because
Mm-hmm.
we're not necessarily prepared to always receive love, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
when my child separated physically to go for vacations,
Mm-hmm.
we started all over the place. It was like one year he would go to his dad, The other Christmas, he's with me. And then another year, it was not organized. So that was very challenging because I was always anxious about what could go wrong. What could go wrong when he goes to his dad's house?
Yep, yep. What could go wrong? Yeah.
So that had to change. I think the step to growth is looking at what helped me was I started a deep, how we call it, what's it called? the dark soul, I don't know the term right now.
Shadow. No.
It's like the death of the never mind. It'll come to me.
Okay.
But what helped me grow was honestly unlearning certain things through meditation. Meditation played a big role in understanding that I couldn't control my child when he went to vacation with his dad. I would be worried. Would he give him the same quality food that I give him at home? Would he, do the activities I expected him to have? Would he take care of him in the same way me as a mother I would take care of her? Like, would he give him his medication on time? Would he, pamper him the same way? Like, these are all so effed up because they're expectations that will only lead you to frustration. The thing that I believe can be easier for us is to say that co-parenting is really hard, but it doesn't have to be. There's ways that we can make it easier on all of us if we center the child. If we both are able to see, like, we've romantically separated, but now we're a team that's here to guide this child to be the best human being he can be. So in my life, go ahead.
Can I just maybe clarify let me know if I clarified correctly. You say you center your child, but you should center your child in the relationship you have with the father, right?
And in my life as well.
Do you center your child and not yourself in your own life?
In my own life, I see myself as the foundation, but he is my priority. Like, as a mother, Kairu is my first priority. Of course, I am a priority to myself, Malika, but as a mother, Malika, the mother, my priority is Kairu. Kairu Madi is my Bible. He's my guiding energy. He is the source of, he's the source of my decisions. All of the decisions I make are wisely chosen. And this is an understanding I have now that I'm older and wiser. I believe so. Where I see, like, is this thing that I'm going to say or do going to support my child's growth? And during the separation part where we were asking, going through the process of the child going through the other house and coming back, what would hurt the most, and this is very vulnerable, is seeing that he would leave as one child, go and come back as a totally different person.
Yeah, I hear this all the time, by the way.
Yes. So I'm preparing you for that because that can happen, but it might not happen as well. So I was holding on to that. It would be like a marathon, like preparing yourself for a marathon, running, and then going and having McDonald's. Like, what? What? All this work, all this investment, all this sacrifice, and I was feeling deeply betrayed, right? So here comes the control part, because we always want to be in control of, he's going to go to the other parent's house. He has to do this by this. That's not realistic, because if you guys don't have an agreement in place, because other parents have agreements in place, especially with court and laws, but we have verbal agreements.
Yeah, but then still with the agreements, I mean, you don't agree what vegetables he's going to eat during the week.
And eat those vegetables, because that part, right? There's households that do not eat vegetables. So that was my that was my anxiety, is like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do when he comes back? Like, he's going to mess up all that I've done. And then boom, later on in life, a health crisis happened. with my
Mm-hmm.
child.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was the point where me, God, sat
Mm-hmm.
down and had a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Tell us
Okay.
about the conversation.
So all this controlling, all this thinking you can control, all this thinking that it's going to be perfect, all this thinking you're going to be prepared went down the road. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because when my child got sick, he was overseas,
Mm-hmm.
he was with the dad, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking, like, where did I go wrong? You know,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
all this preparation, all this conversation, all this sacrifice, all this give and give and give, and then take a little. Where did I go wrong? So I was
And
forced to.
yeah,
Mhm.
and this is a question so many mothers ask themselves all the time. What did I do wrong? Where did I
Mhm.
go wrong? So yeah,
Yeah,
thank you for sharing that too.
yeah, that was my
Mm-hmm.
question. And I had to force myself. No, God forced me to sit down and be like, you did nothing wrong. This is what I had planned for you. You can't control anything. I gave you this false sense that you could control things, but you can't control Jack,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So the only thing that I can think of is when I had this conversation with God, I felt that I was so humbled that I was dragged on the floor. Like either you let go of control,
Yeah.
or either you let go of control or you let go of control. You have
Mm-hmm.
no other option.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a health crisis that happened where me and the father of my child, we were literally forced to join forces for the
Mm-hmm.
well-being of our child. So
Mm-hmm.
then comes, trusting that this is going to happen and the other parent is going to be able to take care of the child while you're not present. Because I was judged for that as well. Huh? You're the mother. Why are you not here? He's the father.
Oh.
He's taking care of him. You hear this, and I want to say this like, família primeiro te julga. We are so
Yeah.
mean to each other,
So harsh.
the
Yeah,
family, and
mean, just
sometimes
mean. Yeah.
just mean
Yeah.
sometimes, just vile.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't think about these things because it's easier to speak about the neighbor, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So we were forced to have this conversation, and I was able to go through this discomfort and see that the focus had to be our child. Okay, we
Mm-hmm.
had been co-parenting in a better way,
Mm-hmm.
a little trigger here and there. We wouldn't be necessarily in the same space, but we had made wiser decisions. We had focused on Kairo's growth. We had focused on, you know, trusting that my intentions are good, and I had to
Mm-hmm.
trust that his intentions were good as well. But when the high, when the crisis comes is when you're really tested. So that
Mm-hmm.
happened, and I had to really, really be able to release control, trust that what I had done was the best that I could, and also trust that what the father was doing was the best he was doing, right? And
Yes. And
yeah,
maybe could I also add something that you shared with me during our private conversation that led to
please do,
this public conversation?
please do, yeah,
And I also want to acknowledge that in the comments I read interesting and yes, learning about this now. Thank you for sharing those comments.
yeah, for sure.
Um, but what I would like to add is what impressed me a lot too in our private conversation is that you said that you're investing so much and you give and you give and you give, right? Like you just said. But then during our first conversation, you also said that what you do is it's like an investment that you do where you
Mm,
close your eyes and then one day you open your eyes and you see the fruits of that investment. Right? And I found that so insightful and also liberating in the sense that it gives autonomy back to your child because your child in the end is also going to make choices in Cairo is online. Yeah, so beautiful. Thanks, Cairo. Obrigada, Bastadli. And Maria, thank you for saying trusting the process. Yes, trusting the process, but also trusting your child that he is going to choose what is best for him. And also when that means that that is something different from what we think
We
is best
want.
for him. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where the control thing comes in again.
So true. And what you shared it's important because I think when we had the private conversation, what I told you was the example of the bank, right?
Yeah,
Where you have
exactly.
like this private account that you deposit money into, it's your savings. So I see my child as an investment. I see that I close my eyes, I give, I give, I give. And I'm not always checking like, ooh, this is what, no, I just give and I trust that whatever is there is going to be multiplied.
Mm-hmm.
And that sometimes it's not conceivable in our brains because the child can have, even our parents, like they gave us so much, but you can have a sibling and you guys are totally different and you had the same guidance, right? We as children, we're going to pick up depending on our context, depending on our environment, depending on our values. So I see that as an investment because you have to trust that what you're doing is the best that you can. And what the other person is doing is also the best
The
that
best that he
they can.
can. Yeah.
Sometimes we're like, dude, I really hoped you could do better.
Mm-hmm.
But then I talk to myself, I'm like, Malika, what are you expecting? This person has that to give. And that, who are you to say that that is not good enough? You
That's
know?
a hard one.
It's hard, but
That's a hard one.
we need to have hard conversations. We need to have difficult conversations. We need to
Mm-hmm.
be able to speak about hard things because we have many people, Zen, suffering in silence, going through deprivative situations where the children are being forced to see the couple as a couple together for the sake of, oh, you're going to have a mom and a dad in the house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that I'm against family because I am
Mm-hmm.
pro having a family, but a
Mm-hmm.
family can have different ways. It can
And
look
Elise
different.
Angela says, "Oh my God, I need this in this moment."
Yes, I need it too
Yeah.
because it's very releasing, like us women, and I believe men as well, because I speak to a lot of men privately. And also I speak to men that co-parent in the same way that women do. So
That
that's
meaning,
meaning that the father is taking care of the child the majority of the time, and
mm-hmm,
then the child has to go to the mother's house, right?
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
this is a shared experience. Of course, we're speaking from our personal experience as mothers, but
mm-hmm.
I think that when we go through this, it forces you to trust because you can, it's like faith. You can't doubt faith. Either you have it or you don't.
Yep.
You
Yep.
have to, I'm not going to say you have to close your eyes because we're speaking about children. And I want to say that this topic is very sensitive, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but we have to be able to trust that while they're with us, we're going to pour, we're going to create the best place that we can. We're going to create presence. We're going to create a space where they feel connected to us, you
And
know,
safe.
and safe as well, and provide the best that we can as mothers, and
Mm-hmm,
trust
mm-hmm.
that the father will find his place to do the best that he can as well. One thing that I feel helped me a lot was a lot of prayer, a lot of, sacrificing, reacting in the moment when I was speaking to the father of my child.
Mm-hmm,
Because I feel the conversations that we had that were the least productive is when I'm reactive. So
mm-hmm,
when my
mm-hmm.
nervous system is like all over the place and I'm scared and I'm not, in a grounded place, the
Yep.
conversation is not going to be productive. It's going to be, it's going to be all over the place. We're not going to stay on topic. We're going to insult each other if we have to, and that's not good for the child because then we're skipping the priority.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that praying for the discernment of the other parent and visualizing, love in his heart towards his child and his connection with a higher power is really helpful. Is really helpful. Not taking things personal, although it's our child. You want to be mindful that it's your child, but also I want to challenge the term "our child" because Ishmael, like they're not our property. You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
as parents, we're here to guide. I always see like to go zamakai, to dizer que menino, like I see him as we're on the high, like the highway, and you have like those bumpers on the
Mhm.
highway. Like that's me, and you can drive.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm that type of mom. I'm gonna guide you. I
Uh-huh.
don't want to hold on to you because in the
Mhm.
beginning I was like, this is my baby. Like
Mhm.
this is my baby. I want him to be like this, to be guided like this. And it,
Mhm.
that's illusions. We have all these false
Mhm.
illusions. And like you said, these false expectations that society expects us to live. But also, I think it might be helpful if we remember and remind ourselves that we're a part of society. We get to create new stories because the stories we tell ourselves we believe, you
Yes, and
know.
there I would like to bump because I heard you saying that when you're interacting with your father's child, let
Mm-hmm.
me just acknowledge also Alisa Angela, thanks. When you put into your child, you want when you put into your child, you want them to be the better version of you. We're going to talk about that. Thank you for bringing that in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when you're interacting with the father of your child, you say that you stay grounded, connected
I
to
try
these.
to. I didn't say
You
I
you
try
try
to.
to. That's your intention. That's your intention. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Your intention is to be grounded, to be connected to the highest
Mm-hmm.
source,
Mm-hmm.
and to not take things personally. And the thing that came to my mind was you go beyond the stories you tell
Mm-hmm.
yourself. And I found it really beautiful that you then now also came to that same point that we're not those stories that we believe we are, including that idea that children are ours, but also including the idea that there is only one type of family. You hit on well, you pointed that out a couple of minutes ago, and
Mm-hmm.
let us maybe go a bit deeper into that because I think that's an important one.
Sure.
You started saying that we have this idea of this nuclear family as an ideal in which there is one mother, one father, and the children in one living space. Um, and and that you said that there's children suffering from their parents thinking, hey, we want the best for you, so you're going to have a mother and a father in one space together with you, whilst the relationship is not working. And maybe to make that also very concrete by a personal anecdote.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still living in the same space as the father of my children.
Mm-hmm.
And but we're most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time we're on a good place with each other. So good enough, let's put it like that. But what really stood out for me, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, um, he and I gave each other a hug, like a amicable hug,
Mm-hmm.
not a romantic hug. And the oldest one, who's 4,
Mm-hmm.
apparently never sees that. And he made us very aware of that because he was like, are you hugging each other? Why are you
Wow.
hugging each other? And that was so confrontational
Wow.
to be made aware of that. He is very aware that we don't have a very good relationship in that sense, that there's no intimacy. Um, And it doesn't have to be a romantic intimacy, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just that human
The
connection.
connection. Yeah.
Yeah, that he doesn't see displayed
Yeah.
so much in our
Yeah.
interaction.
Yeah.
So that for me, a hug is a hug.
Mm-hmm.
It's
A hug is
true.
a hug.
But it's the
Yeah.
connection, exactly. But that for me was a confirmation
Mm-hmm.
only that it's good to create spaces where he can feel loved and where there's human connection in the best way we can. And for
Yeah.
us, personally, that means that we're going to be living in different spaces. Um, but maybe you also want to um, talk a little bit more about this idea of different forms of family. Ah, yeah, maybe what I want to add too is that one thing that I also found very helpful was hearing from another mother who is also separated from the father of her child,
Mm.
is that she still sees them as a family, but just in another form. So the father now has a own family too, with a partner and children, but they're
Yes.
still a family. Being
Yes.
separated does not mean to her that they're not a family. It's just
It,
a different way of being a family.
it's a different way. It's a different way, and it's a valuable way to see it because we were trained to see the nuclear family as the mom, the dad, the same kids in one space, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also see that in our experience, it's beautiful that you share the part of the hug because I think it's a very it's a reminder that things take place and they're noticing things more than we can imagine.
They
These
notice so
kids,
much.
these kids pick up on so much more than we can imagine between the
Mm-hmm.
seen, the unseen, and even the facial expressions,
Yeah.
you know? So we want to be mindful that the children are our future. Like as parents, the work that we're doing here as mothers and fathers is to be able to prepare humans that are able to be emotionally healthy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I see the part of the family as different, but not in a way that is accepted by society. You know, I agree because personally, when we were going through the separation, um, my the father of my child, he then began another family, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So in the beginning, it was really hard for me as a mother and as a woman as well, the ego part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, like this child is going to be exposed to another woman.
Mm-hmm.
So then comes all this, like all this jealousy, all this envy, all this, like, oh, you guys are going to have
Worries.
worries. You guys are going to have like the life that I wanted for us. That was my thought
Mm.
back then.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, good, Elisangeli, because I think that's a problem of a lot of us women. Sometimes we're more concerned about the father's romantic life with another lady more than the father's relation to our child. Mm?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So from my personal experience, I was worried as well. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was worried. I didn't know this person. Even if I did, I could care less because I was just like,
My
my child,
job. Yeah.
my child with another
Mm-hmm.
lady.
Yeah.
And no matter what the dad said, like, oh, she's nice, she loves him. I'm like, but she's not his mom.
Mm-hmm. And she isn't.
And she isn't. But then I came during meditation. So I want to be
Mm-hmm.
mindful that meditation is something that helped me a lot. I would process these things, these emotions would come up, this anger. I
Mm-hmm.
even dare to say like high grade rage,
Mm-hmm.
rage of
Yeah.
this person. How dare you start another life and then go on to have another child when you can't even be present 100% for this child, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Thank you
this,
for calling out rage. Yes.
yes, it was a
Mm-hmm.
deep
Mm-hmm.
feeling of rage. I was very
Mm-hmm.
enraged by that. But then through meditation and burning layers of my ego, I
Mm-hmm.
remembered something that I had said to the father of my child when we separated romantically. So I can share that with you. I hope he doesn't mind. Um, I said, I hope that one day the woman that you choose to partner with or that you choose to be a part of her life, that you do so much better than what you did with me,
Mm-hmm.
right? That you
Mm-hmm.
use her as an opportunity to improve. And I just pray that she gets the best of you.
Mm-hmm.
So this is hard.
Goosebumps.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
hard because when I said that, that was in the phase where I had to accept that he was going to start a new path.
Mm-hmm.
So when this thought came to mind, I said, "You remember what you told him? Remember that. That's what it is. You just
Wow.
pray that he loves her, that he guides his family in the best way, that he's able to give her all the things that he couldn't give you. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not personal. Maybe it wasn't meant for you. And so I see the romantic part as important because I think it's something that we can attach to easily, thinking
Mm-hmm.
about the other person that they might start a life with and how that can impact our children or impact us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I also see it as, what if it's amazing?
Mm-hmm.
What if,
Mm-hmm.
like, what if he's really able to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, 16 years later, I commend him to that because he was able to do that, in his own way.
Mm-hmm.
In his own way, he was able to do that. He has his own family. He has two other kids that are the siblings of my child, you know. I have no conflict with the mother of the child. In the beginning, it was like a little tension, like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to see you. I like you just,
You just be there.
you just be there. Just be there.
Uh-huh.
But then, like, like God spoke to me. He's like, she has nothing to do with your feelings.
Mm.
This focus should be on your child and having a long-term mindset of what can me and his dad do to be a team in this, to build, because I see my child as a legacy. he is the,
Yes,
he
he
is the
is.
legacy that I'm building. All
Mm-hmm.
the love that we
Yes.
pour in, me and his dad, is for the best.
Mm.
So I want to be aware that, other mothers have different experiences. Not everybody has the same experiences. But when you're preparing yourself to transition into a place that's unknown, you really have to stop trying to control the results
Mm-hmm.
because it turns out in a way that you can't necessarily predict.
No.
And sometimes it can be even better than you imagined.
What if it's good? What if
What
it's
if,
amazing,
what
like you
if
said?
what
Yeah,
if
yeah,
it's
yeah.
amazing? Or what if it's just different? Let's just be curious and say that, what if it's different?
Yeah.
It's
Let's be
hard when you're a
curious is a good
person.
one.
Yeah, let's be curious. What if it's hard, but I can do hard things? It's not going to be easy. We have mothers that go through a situation where the father does not help the child,
Mm-hmm.
nor physically, nor spiritually, nor financially, nor emotionally. There's a burden on the mother because the dad, the dad is not there helping, right? So I want to say that is also a different scenario. I lived
Uh,
parts of that, but it wasn't the totality of my experience.
No, and just
Yeah.
maybe to add another different experience that I see in the comments.
Mm-hmm.
I see Elisangela says, yes, I was okay with her, the other lady, but she
Mm-hmm.
will insult me and blame me for everything wrong in her relationship with him. I'm sorry that that's your experience. I don't know if do you have any wise words from your own experience, Malika, that
To what she said, to what you have
yeah.
said, yeah, Lisangela. I think that um, when the other person blames you and insults you, it's more so about them and not you. There's a lot of projection that can happen in these different types of dynamics. So you have to really train yourself to not take things personally. Of course, if it affects your child, you have to set boundaries and use all the forces you need because, um, hard situations might require some drastic measures. But if she's insulting you and blaming you, that's good. That's really good. I think we tend to forget as humans, when somebody talks about you, that just gives you more power. That just gives you more energy. Good or bad, doesn't matter.
Hmm.
The other person to take time of their day to talk about you, to insult you. Can you imagine how special you are? Like,
Yeah.
because maybe you mean something to her, not even to the father, maybe to the woman. And this was something that I had to I shared this with one of my best friends, and I told her, like, this regarding the other lady, right? um the other partner. So I said, it's beautiful if you can learn something from me. I think I might have some things to teach you that can be helpful in your relationship as a woman, you know, as a woman, it might be helpful. So we don't have to be mean to each other. We don't have to. Society wants to see us against each other, wants to see us villainizing each other, wants to see us, speaking bad on each other. And I was like, I'm healing myself, so I have no bad energy towards you. Maybe I can teach you some things and I can learn from you too, you know?
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Lisenne, is this something you find
I hope
valuable?
I hope it's helpful. I hope. Those are my words for Elisangela. It's just, yeah.
Thank you for sharing those. I find it beautiful, the idea of restoring a connection in that way by highlighting that we can actually learn from each other if we do not fall into the trap of needing to hate each other or to be against each other. And I think that that's a whole other subject, but this enormous power that there is in women connecting
Yes, and supporting each
and
other
supporting,
and
yeah.
seeing each other as a village, because one thing that I had to learn, Zen, and for everybody that might connect to this, is that if we're a village, because we speak a lot about, we need a village, it takes a
Yeah.
village to raise a
Mm-hmm.
child. If we're a village, we need to be mindful of who we're putting into our village.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you get to choose who's a part of your village.
Mm-hmm.
Some you can control, some you cannot. But if this now mother and this woman is a part of my village, I'm going to see her as an element of my village. So we have to resolve things, or maybe there's nothing to resolve, but we have to be able to, agree to disagree and just set the child as the priority, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah. And set boundaries.
and set boundaries.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Malika, I am really enjoying this talk. I know that we
Mhm.
can continue for ages,
I know.
like
I
we do
know.
when we talk to each other. But
Mhm.
I think it's a good thing for us to wrap it up in a little
Yes.
bit.
Yeah, sure.
Before we do, let me touch upon one more thing.
Mhm.
I heard you say and emphasize that meditation has helped you a lot in
Mhm.
this. Thank you, Maria, for saying that we are light.
Likely.
You are too. And
Yes.
thank you too for joining.
Love
But
Maria.
about the meditation,
Mhm.
you know how I come up with these crazy ideas, which are not always crazy ideas, but just great ideas. So I'm hearing you and saying, oh, meditation, it really helped me. And I had a conversation with God, etc. Is it an idea to do a joint meditation sometime, someday, but not never? So we're
Mhm.
going to fix a day
Mhm.
where we sit with each other and meditate um, with this topic as a theme,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I
Yes, for
think so
sure.
too. Well, thank you for the clear yes.
100%. 100%.
Let's
100%. I
do that.
agree. Let's do that,
And this is a
Um,
seed.
yes, it's a seed. Thank you. Thank you for planting that seed. I think meditation can be helpful, you know,
Hmm.
also respecting each other. So yes to the meditation.
Hmm.
But before we wrap it up, I also want to share that we have to keep some values at the forefront,
Hmm.
as in respect, you
Hmm.
know, respecting the other parent. Um, some might say, oh, even if they disrespect you, how do you respect them?
Hmm.
You respect, okay?
Hmm.
You respect. My child has never heard me speak bad about his father, and he's here, he can testify. Um, Avoid speaking bad about the other parent, even if there's things you don't agree, even if there's things that are
Hmm.
true or that are lies, never speaking down on the other parent, never trying to manipulate the child to feel guilty or to have negative feelings toward the other family or toward the other parent, being able to respond from a place of love, and not necessarily react. I can see how a lot of us women, especially when we're charged with the heavy duty of mothering and supporting the child, sometimes, it's hard. It's hard. Um, Creating our own village, not counting on things that you don't have to count on. So that also comes to zero expectations. If you know that you're physically, romantically, financially separated from this parent, do what you need to do, but don't count. That's
Mm-hmm.
something, it's separation is separation. It's like, we like to be in between. We like to be warm, it's like, if we're separated, I'm not going to count. Like, you can provide what you need for the child, but I know it's my responsibility.
Your
Also,
part of it.
my part of it,
Yeah.
my part of it, of
Mm-hmm.
course, of
Yeah.
course. So yeah, I want to share that because I think it's important to have, this awareness. Also, I want to share with the people that may be watching and listening to us, having this long-term mindset. The focus is the child. I have to get over my ego. I have to have this dark night of the soul. That's the word I was looking for a while ago. So I
Mm-hmm.
had the dark night of the soul. That was it. And place my kid at the center of this. Focus on what I can control versus investing in worrying, because investing in worrying is like rehearsing for the worst case scenario, and expecting things to be good. Trusting that God has better plans that we humans think we do. Sometimes we don't physically and mentally understand, but God has higher plans. Um, yeah, and imagine this sacred space that we can create as mothers to our children and with the fathers as much as possible, you know? Yeah. So I hope this conversation is helpful. Like we said, this was our personal experience, take what you need, recycle what you don't need, recycle what you don't need.
Well, I do want to emphasize what you just pointed out because I think they're very important points. The long-term mindset, again, especially, and this is full circle now because we started with also talking about society and the
Mhm.
way we have um, constructed families.
True.
But long-term mindset is not something that is common in our current societies. And I think that that too leads to a lot of mental health problems,
For sure. For
spiritual
sure.
problems,
Yes.
physical problems.
Yes.
And I've learned also myself throughout the years that these long-term mindsets, and then
Mm.
also being able to take your time to get to a certain point is so, so important. Yeah, right? Uh,
Desacelera.
yeah,
Mm-mm.
desacelera. Thank
Oof.
you. Desacelera.
Desacelera.
Yeah,
It's so important what you said, John, because
yeah.
Zen, because we had these things that we're sharing. What you just shared is so valuable because, like you said, as a society, we gravitate towards, quick, quick.
Wait,
Everything is
yeah.
done quick. And I also
Mhm.
want to say that as couples, as two parents that have now different families, I have mine and he has his, I can also see like we're not the generation that is used to doing the sacrifices that our parents and our grandparents would do for a relationship.
Mhm, mhm,
You
mhm,
know, nowadays people are so much quicker to quit on a relationship than a while ago. So
mhm,
I think there's a part of sacrifice that in the couple before they make the decision to separate that had to be very processed, and nobody's taking the time to process that because everything is so quick. you
mhm.
know if you're not
True.
like this, if you're not like that, we forget that when you live with somebody, you're living with five different people
And more.
and more and
All of
more,
them
all of them,
ancestors too.
all of the ancestors, that person, his inner child, his
Yeah.
mother's inner child, his dad's inner child, all
Mhm.
of these unexpected expectations,
Yeah.
So yeah, let's take it easy on ourselves. Let's
And
respect.
and that point, let's bring that back to the other point you made about not speaking negatively about the other parent, is because the other parent is also in your child, is part of your child. So
It's 50-50.
you're also talking bad about your child in that moment
No, you're talking bad about yourself, not
too.
about the other child.
No, no, about your child too, in the sense that he internalizes it in a way.
You're
No,
talking
you
about
wouldn't.
you're talking about yourself because the child is half of you.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Because it's 50-50.
Mhm.
Então,
I know
quando
what
me te
you mean.
fala mal de aquele pai para aquela criança, me te fala mal de minha pessoa, because he can be very wise and be like, but mom, why did you choose to have him as a father?
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
So we need to be mindful what we're saying because words are very powerful,
So
you know? And back in the day, I used to say, like, I'm dealing with the consequences of my bad choice.
I can relate to that thought.
The thought,
Yeah.
all respect due, but yeah, we made some messed up decisions, which
Mm.
we can accept that at the end of the day, we're gonna fail, you know,
Mhm.
we're
Mhm.
gonna fail. Let's just release this perfection thing that we have to be perfect in everything. This is an invitation to accept that we're going to fail. It's okay to fail, but guess what? You get to learn. You get to
Thank you.
extract.
Amen. That's the perfect end of this conversation I was looking
Yes,
for, I think.
yes, yes. You
Oh,
get to
thank you
learn. You get
so
to be
much. We get
prepared.
to learn.
You get to
Yeah,
evolve. You
we
get to
get
be
to evolve.
prepared. It's just, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it, sis.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much.
much. And no pão vírgula. Because Deus já põe vírgula, like someone in the comments said, não ponha
Yes.
ponto final onde Deus
Onde Deus
põe
pôs uma
vírgula.
vírgula.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you
Beautiful.
all for joining this conversation. Thank you, Malika, so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing your story, your insights, your wisdom with us. Yeah, I really love this conversation, and you said yes to the meditation. So
Yes,
that's coming.
yes,
That's coming
yes.
someday. And
Mhm.
yeah, have a beautiful day.
Have a beautiful day, everybody. Thank you so much, Zen, for providing this space, this conversation. I wish you the best of courage for your transition. And
Thank
to
you.
anybody who might be going through this as well,
Mhm.
take what you need. And also, let's focus on healing ourselves first.
Yep.
If I can leave one message, that would be it. Healing ourselves first and, yeah, doing the best we can. Yeah. Love you all.
Love.